Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Vice President of Engineering for Google, Vic Gundotra.
Well, good morning. Good morning and hello. On behalf of Google, let me extend a very warm welcome to all 5,000 in attendance today, as well as the many more thousands who are watching our first ever live streamcast of this event on youtube.com. Thank you. You know, it's hard to believe that this is our third Google I/O. It's not only our largest Google I/O, it's the one that we sold out the fastest. It even surprised us. You know, within weeks of announcing this conference, we sold out of this event 2.5 months in advance. And we think that speaks volumes about the level of enthusiasm that you all have for this important community event. And at Google, we recognize how precious and valuable your time is, and we're honored and grateful that you've chosen to spend 2 days here with us. We hope you find this conference exciting and really engaging, and we have a few surprises for you as well. Now, some of you may wonder, how did we name this conference? What does I/O stand for? You know, 3+ years ago, when we first thought about holding a developers conference, and we thought about naming the event, we contemplated multiple choices. We wanted a name that most importantly embodied the spirit of the web, a spirit of collaboration, sometimes messy, but always fun, a spirit of inclusiveness rather than exclusiveness, a spirit of innovation and of openness. And of course, we wanted this event to appeal to developers. So we thought, what's the first thing a developer learns to do when they begin to code? Well, it's input and output. That's I/O. But I/O also stands for two of the most important elements of our web culture: innovation in the open. Make no mistake about it. The web is the most important platform of our generation. And because it's a platform controlled by none of us, it's the only platform that truly belongs to all of us. And it's our job as a community to move that web forward. And so you can imagine how pleased we were last year at this conference to focus the world's attention, the developer community's attention, on an important standard, HTML5. It was at this conference, in this room, last year, that you can see we first started driving attention toward HTML5. And events later on in the year continued that momentum that we as a community started. That huge spike is YouTube's adoption of HTML5. That other spike is Apple's adoption. I think it was a Steve Jobs late night email or something. That last spike, hey, we'll take support from wherever we can get it. That last spike included Microsoft's support for HTML5. As a community, working together and collaboratively, we can move the web forward. Of course, we recognize that we are far from done. We recognize that the web has important challenges that we need to address as a community. How can we make the web faster? How can we make web apps as discoverable as you see, for example, in app stores? How can we make it easier for developers to monetize those applications? And finally, can we make the web extend its reach even to new form factors? Well, we hope to show you our proposed answers to some of these questions at this conference, and we're very much looking forward to your feedback. Of course, the web is growing up. It's all happening because we're working on it together, and we think this conference is an important part of that process. Before I hand off to our opening keynote speaker, let me just make two housekeeping announcements. The first announcement is I hope you all enjoyed the Android devices that we sent you as part of registering. If you have not already done so, please go to the Android Marketplace and download an application we specifically designed for you at this conference. Just do a search on Google Conference or Google I/O, and you'll find this application. This application will make it very easy for you to make the best use of your time and to really find the sessions that interest you the most. The second and last housekeeping note. Tomorrow's keynote will not start at 9 a.m. It will start at 8:30 in the morning. Now, I know that's early in the morning, particularly for you developers, but I promise you, you will not be disappointed. We have more than one surprise tomorrow morning. So have fun at the party tonight, but remember, the fun starts at 8:30 tomorrow morning. All right. With that, let me hand off to our opening keynote speaker who will carry the banner of the open web. Please join me in welcoming Google Vice President of Product Management, Sundar Pichai.
Thanks, Vic. It's great to be here. I'm going to be talking to you today about HTML5, the incredible momentum we have, all the new capabilities that are coming up, how modern browsers are going to support these APIs. We will show you real-world examples. We will invite application developers who are building amazing experiences on top of HTML5. And finally, we'll have a couple of important announcements on the way. So let's get started. First, as Vic mentioned, the web is the most important platform of our generation. And from a user standpoint, people are spending more of their time on the web. Compared to every other information medium out there, the web has more than doubled in terms of the amount of time people spend in the last 5 years. Every other information medium has been the same or has declined. That's how important our web is in users' lives. So how are developers reacting to it? So we started taking a look at how applications have been written since 1990. Most of you are familiar with the popular desktop applications, Microsoft Office, iTunes, Skype, Photoshop. The list goes on and on. These are amazing applications which we all use in our day-to-day lives. The interesting thing, though, is since 2004, we couldn't come up with popular desktop applications that are outside of games and browsers that are being used by millions of users. What happened in 2004? It turned out it is the year in which AJAX and the Web 2.0 revolution happened. People started writing these applications as web applications, applications which you're all very familiar with, Gmail, Google Maps, Facebook, Twitter, etc. The world changed. The web changed from documents to applications, and developers started reaching users by writing web applications instead of desktop applications. So this is a powerful change. It's a very important trend. Given that, we need to make sure web applications can do everything that desktop applications can do. You're all very familiar with this. Historically, desktop applications have had full access to system capabilities. So they could talk to the speaker, microphone, camera. They could access the file system, for example. Web applications have been limited in what they can do. This is what the HTML5 work is all about. We are working very hard as a community to make sure all these capabilities show up in the browser. Let me give a few examples. Most computers today ship with powerful GPUs. How do you make sure web applications can access these graphics capabilities? That's what WebGL and the graphics APIs are all about. Workers. It is about allowing web applications to access the multi-core CPUs present on the computers. There are APIs to access the local file system, local storage, speaker, microphone, camera, and the list goes on. All this matters only if browsers support these APIs. So let's take a look at how we are doing there. About 24 months ago, this effort had just gotten underway. There was pioneering work here by Firefox, Safari, Opera, and Chrome didn't even exist then. So this is about 24 months ago, and the effort had just gotten underway. So let's fast forward to where we were last year during Google I/O. You can see the momentum was there. Set of APIs being implemented in all modern browsers, including Chrome. So the progress was very exciting. So where do we expect to be by the end of this year? As you can see, all the major APIs are going to be present in all modern browsers. So you as developers can bank on these APIs being present in the browsers when users reach your applications. Another important trend is mobile. All of you are carrying a smartphone here today. The interesting thing there is the smartphones are all web connected with capable browsers. This is looking at search traffic, the mobile search traffic that hits Google. And if you look at the proportion that comes from HTML5 capable browsers, it's far outpacing the other browsers as well. So HTML5 is everywhere. So the question is, how do we make use of it? How do we all make use of it to create amazing experiences for users? So I want to show you a few examples. I'm going to start with a demo from Google. I'm going to invite Jeff Chang, who's a product manager on the Chrome team, to give you a demo of Gmail. How Gmail has built two simple yet very powerful features on top of HTML5. So let's get started. So Jeff is loading Gmail. It turns out one of the most popular features in Gmail is sending email. And most people tend to attach files when they do that. If you're using a traditional desktop application like Outlook, it's very intuitive. You just drag and drop a file. That's been hard for web applications to do. But now, using the HTML5 file APIs, he can drag that photo very intuitively and just drop it in Gmail. Simple, but very powerful, what most users do on their day-to-day lives. A second such example is around notifications. It's very common for you to be in a web application which has notifications associated with it. For example, Google Chat is built into Gmail. The question is, how do you receive that notification when you're not on Gmail? But now, using the HTML5 notifications API, Jeff can receive the email from Bob, I guess, even when he's not on Gmail. So two examples, the file API and notifications API, and Gmail is implementing to deliver powerful features to our users. So at this point, I would like to invite, we want to show you real-world examples, people all over the community building great applications on top of HTML5. So I would like to invite first Charles Pritchard from MugTug and Jim Lanzone from Clicker.com.
Hello, everyone. My name's Charles Pritchard. I'm the CEO behind MugTug. I've come here to preview our latest software development. It's an application we call Darkroom. In 2006, Michael Deal and I created an HTML4 website called MugTug Studio. It used cloud services to allow people to edit their images, apply effects, etc. It was slow and it used a lot of bandwidth. But now, this year, with HTML5 support growing, we're able to bring MugTug Darkroom onto the client side. Now, when I say client side, I mean that we're untethered, we're not connected to the internet, or at least we don't need to be. I'm going to go ahead and unplug and show you that indeed we are offline, unless the Wi-Fi, of course, picks up. So we're offline, and we're still in the cache. The way this is done is by using some HTML5 APIs. One of them is application cache. We also use local storage and the file reader. Our GUI is in Canvas 2D context. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start using the application. You can see here we have a few beautiful photos. And these are all being served from the local computer. But what I'd like to do is go ahead and work with one that hasn't been touched up yet, and that's going to be this one right here. Experts amongst you will notice a few things wrong with this photo. It's tilted. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply our advanced rotate effect. Very wild, I know. And the next thing we're going to do here is you can tell that the camera flash has brought out that infamous red eye effect. So I'm going to go ahead here and I'm going to give him a much more natural appearance. It's much better, much better. Anyway, what you do see here is the next generation of application. It's quick to load, it's quick to close, and it's quick to use. I'm previewing it on the latest Google Chrome, which has great support for HTML5. The application itself is using JavaScript, and it's using the Canvas 2D context for its GUI. We're going to see a lot more of these in the future because HTML5 support, offline applications are being actively championed by every major browser vendor. Again, my name's Charles Pritchard. This is MugTug Darkroom, and I invite you to visit us in the sandbox if you'd like some more information or if you'd just like to play around with some of the other image effects we have going on. Thank you.
So we launched Clicker.com a few months ago. It's been called the TV Guide for the Web. It's essentially a massive database like sites like TripAdvisor or Yelp or IMDb, but it's focused just on the premium programming available on the web across web originals, broadcast television, movies, music videos, because it's no longer about when things are on or having a schedule grid. It's about where they're on and whether they're on and what you can actually get across thousands of different hosts of online video. So we launched a few months ago, and a lot of our users are actually just broadcasting their PC screens up to their televisions or using a Mac Mini to do so. And Clicker.com was definitely geared towards the 2-foot experience. It's a website. So they've wanted to be able to use us in that 10-foot experience. So we're here today to launch Clicker.tv, which is our 10-foot experience. So you see us kind of moving through it. You'll see that it looks and feels a lot like a downloadable application or a plugin or something you might have to buy a box to attach to your TV. But it's actually native to the browser. You just go to clicker.tv to use it. It does this thanks in large part to HTML5, using Canvas, web worker threads, the local storage API, and of course it really hums in a browser like Chrome. Even though it works in all browsers, it really shines, and you see the speed of this application. So you'll see, let's just go into, let's say, a show. So let's start with Charlie Rose. It's an example I like to use. And you'll see, just start searching on your keyboard, and it just appears. You don't even have to go to the search box. And Chrome likes to show itself off. And you see all the Charlie Rose episodes that have been online going back to 1994, all organized by season. Or another example, let's say with my kids, I want to watch this online show called Pigeon Impossible, which is a Pixar-like short. So again, I just start typing pigeon, hit it, and I get to the actual show page, perhaps. It's like Bill Gates. And just hit enter, and then I just hit play. So let's say instead I want to watch actually broadcast television. Now we don't host all programming. To be the TV Guide of the Web, you have to be truly comprehensive and unbiased across everything, even the things that you don't host. So let's maybe, for example, go back to the homepage and then try the show Lost. I'm not sure how many of you were watching that 12 hours ago like I was, hoping that finally someone would ask a follow-up question. I'm still waiting for that after 6 years. So let's say we want to watch the last episode that's online. Again, just go to the show, hit enter, you get to the show. In this case, you're being taken to ABC's website, and it comes up large screen to play, or you can hit full screen to get it all the way there. But again, very easy. On your keyboard, just hit the backspace button or the delete button, and you get back to the programming guide. So maybe because I don't want to watch the ad, I want to add it to my playlist. So you see down the left-hand side, I can scroll down. I can add to my playlist, and then down the left-hand side of the page, I can then go into my playlist just using the arrow keys or my configured remote. And you see all these different shows that I've saved on our site. Here's Deadliest Warrior. If anyone has seen this show, it's ridiculous, like watching Alexander the Great square off against Attila the Hun. So I've saved all these things. You can also then browse 1,400 categories in TV, movies, web originals. You can even sort by themes, kind of like Pandora-like genes, like quirky characters and things like that. And you see the movie page. You can just go straight into Netflix if you're a subscriber to watch. So that's Clicker.tv. Again, purely native. You just go to that website, and very, very rich, thanks in large part to HTML and 5 and the guys at Chrome. We are in the sandbox, and we'd love to see you guys there. Thanks for having us. Have a great next couple of days. Thanks.
Thanks. So it's great to see these applications. We'll have many more on the way. And these are all built on HTML5 and work great in the browser. One of the interesting things that Clicker.com showed is the use of video. Video is one of the most important forms of communication on the web. Just like images are very popular on the web. But as developers, when you use images on the web, you have a plethora of choice and formats, including an open and freely implementable format like PNG. We think video should have the great free and open alternative as well. It's really important for the web to have at least one alternative for video, which is high quality and open. So we've been thinking hard about this problem. In fact, we are very, very committed to this, and we have invested over $120 million in acquiring Onto Technologies to contribute towards this vision. So today, we want to talk about VP8, but before that, let me tell you a little bit about Onto. We got to know this team last year. They're a set of passionate, committed engineers. They're based in Clifton Park, New York. They've been working on the video space since 1992. So when we started taking a look at VP8, we were very impressed with its quality. The VP line of codecs has had over 2 billion installs and has been adopted by products like Flash, Skype, etc. It's really suited for the web. To serve video on the web, you need to deal with a lot of varying conditions. From a bandwidth standpoint, from a client standpoint, there are many, many mobile devices which are connecting to the web as well. VP8 is really good at adapting to these varying conditions. They're very efficient with bandwidth as well. We serve over 2 billion video views per day on YouTube, and so we really care about bandwidth costs. And so VP8 is very efficient with bandwidth. In addition, we believe it's the best-in-class codec for real-time streaming as well. So overall, we are really impressed with VP8, and so today, we would like to announce that we are fully open-sourcing VP8 under a completely royalty-free license. We are working with many people in the community to do this. And so there's a project called WebM, which we are announcing today in conjunction with many partners. And it's an open web media project. It will have VP8 as the video codec, and it'll be packaged with an open source audio codec, Vorbis. You can find more details about this at the project site, but there's a lot of excitement in the community around this. And so to talk more about this, I would like to invite two major browser vendors who are pioneering a lot of the HTML5 work. And so first, let me invite Mike Shaver from Mozilla, followed by Håkon Wimley from Opera.
Thank you, Sundar, and thank you, Google, for this huge investment in open web and open video. We're now at a time whose idea has come. Industrial strength, royalty-free video with a high-quality open-source implementation, and, as you'll see, broad industry support. More importantly, it will also have millions of kitten videos. As of today, I'm very pleased to share with you, YouTube will be supporting the WebM video format as part of its HTML5 beta. They've started converting their entire catalog, beginning with the higher quality videos at 720p and above, and that'll continue over time. With this, you can use high-quality video built into the stack with great performance. Mozilla has been interested in open video for a long time because we want to see HTML5 reach its full potential. Since Firefox 3.5, almost 2 years ago, we've been shipping the open source Theora codec and working with those developers who are visionaries, really, in seeing the importance of universal video very early on. We're excited that they're joining with us as well in supporting the WebM project and have already started working on the code and tools. Video is key to the web experience, and because of that, it needs to be part of the web, not just technically, but also in terms of the terms of its use. JavaScript, CSS, HTML, SVG, HTTP, all of these technologies are usable with no strings attached, under any terms you want to build anything you want. We wouldn't accept that HTML was only licensed to be used for documents and not applications. We wouldn't accept that you couldn't distribute what you do with CSS unless you signed a license. We've seen what happens and how much disruption it can cause when the terms of a platform change at the whim of one organization, and the web needs to be above that. The web's growing important capabilities. To be clear, I didn't make that happen. The web's growing important capabilities, and as it does that, the demands on browsers increase. We're working at Mozilla to make sure that every part of the stack is ridiculously fast. This means taking advantage of graphics on computers and mobile devices. It means taking advantage of multiple cores and DSPs, and, as you'll see, hardware from other WebM partners. The VP8 codec itself, in taking advantage of multiple cores, specializing for low power and embedded devices, is not only a great codec for today, but it'll scale with us as the web does in the future. I say every year that it's a great time to be a web developer, and every year I get to be right about at least that. Open Video is now here in high quality. Excuse me. High quality, and it's embedded into the stack. It's part of everything you use now, like text, like images, like CSS. Let me give you a taste of what you can do when it's built into the stack, and you can use it with all the tools that you've come to love over the past 10 years of the web. This is something we built with 2 videos, a handful of images, and about 450 lines of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and SVG. Anybody in the room could read through it, understand it, use it in their own space. No external libraries, no obfuscation. It's all right there. You get real text built into the platform. You can select it. You can localize it. You can search index it. You can animate it. You get robots in circles exploding and shooting at each other. You get high-quality video with custom controls, scaling, 720p HD resolutions built into the platform. We give you control over the video experience and about how your users will find it. It won't surprise you to discover that Firefox will be supporting WebM. It would surprise you to discover we weren't. But our ambitions don't end there. We want to see this in all browsers, on all devices. We want to see this available to every user who's going to take advantage of the great things you people are going to build on top of this platform. We've got nightly builds kicked off today. You'll be able to take them and start building your applications now. And I want to thank you, excuse me, as we get this technology out to 400 million users on Memo and Android devices as well. I want to thank you for your time today. And I want to thank you for building a fantastic web.
It's a fantastic day for the web. I'm very proud to be here. My name is Håkon. I'm the CTO of Opera Software. 3 years back, in February 2007, we published a proposal for the video element on the web. We also published a manifesto, because we wanted there to be video on the web. The video was missing. We had text, we had images, we had many things, but we didn't have video. So we put forward this proposal, and we knew it wouldn't be easy. Well, the first part was pretty easy. The syntax was easy. We could quite easily agree on the video element. The hard part was to find a high-tech, high-quality, open, freely usable format for video. And the great news here today is that WebM has joined the list. Tim didn't patent HTML. I didn't patent CSS. Brendan didn't patent JavaScript. We need for there to be an open and freely usable format for video on the web, and I think WebM is it. So I'm very proud to demo Opera here, running, showing WebM. The video you're seeing here is this is from the 17th of May celebration in Oslo. We do this every year to celebrate the video tag. And you can download Opera with WebM support in it if you go to this URL there, labs.opera.com. Oops. Now, the video tag is not going to be alone on the screen. Here I've added a few more things. Except from the video, though, there's no images on this screen. The heading here is web fonts, selectable fonts. The graphics here is SVG, and you can see that he nods in approval for WebM here. This is done with CSS transitions. This is also CSS transitions down here. We can do a whole lot declaratively now without the need for JavaScript. There is some JavaScript here, though. You can see the national anthem has been rendered at the bottom there, and that's done in the canvas element with a little JavaScript library to render musical notation. So all this is coming together now. We think that video, being a first-class citizen, will join the other content types that we have, and we will have very rich web pages in HTML and CSS3. My prediction is that we can, if we use these techniques right, we can get rid of half the images of the web, because they're mostly there for styling purposes. But by adding all this video stuff, there's still going to be, lots of images out there. So to the web community, I'd like to say, start using this. We need to go out with our video cameras. We all have video cameras in our pockets, and we should do it. This guy in Germany just went to his local zoo and filmed the octopus. And it's fantastic how this video presentation really increases the educational value of Wikipedia or whatever kind of content you're doing. The video is truly amazing. To Google, I'd like to say thank you. It's very civil of you to spend time and money getting WebM off the ground, releasing it to the open. And I look forward to working with with Google in the future to make sure that the web remains open to be used for all sorts of browser with all sorts of content. At Opera, we put the web into all sorts of phones. We're on hundreds of different phone sets, reaching millions of people who would never otherwise have video access. And we truly believe that web access is going to be one of the human rights of this century. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike and Håkon. So it's really exciting. One of the core tenets which underlies the web success is that it's based on open standards like HTML, TCP/IP, JavaScript, etc. And it's great to see video get that option as well. So for an effort like this to be successful, we really need the support of the entire industry to make this happen. So I guess I'm on the wrong slide. So we've been reaching out to many, many partners, and we've received overwhelming support. So we're very grateful for that. I want to call out a few people. First of all, we wouldn't be able to do this today without the support of people like the open source efforts like Warbus and Thera. So we are very grateful to what they've done, and we are looking forward to working with them. Secondly, for VP8 and WebM to succeed, it's really important that we have hardware support, especially given how many mobile devices are getting connected to the web and serving videos. So hardware acceleration is very, very important, and we are working with many, many hardware partners and publishers. You can see the names on the list, and we are working very hard to make a highly optimized RTL freely available soon to our hardware partners. So we've talked about HTML5 APIs, how modern browsers are supporting these APIs, and given you examples of real-world applications. We have more examples on the way, but at this point, I would like to invite Kevin Lynch, CTO of Adobe. Adobe has been doing a lot of work to support HTML5, including providing tools which are really important for developers. So let me invite Kevin Lynch to the stage.
Hey, Sundar. Thank you. Well, it's great to be with all of you here today at Google I/O. And HTML5 is great. It's a great move forward for HTML on the web. And seeing the examples here this morning was a lot of fun to see it coming along and seeing what's possible now in HTML. And At Adobe, we've been, for over 25 years now, enabling people to express themselves using a variety of technologies. And it's really fun to see new technologies come out like this that people can take advantage of in expressing themselves, and we're really excited to work on enabling that to happen. Of course, we work on a variety of technologies at Adobe, and today, though, I want to focus on HTML5 and what we're doing around that technology. And I'm going to give you 3 examples of some of the work that we're doing in support of HTML5. So the first thing I wanted to show you is what we're doing in Dreamweaver. And Dreamweaver is the most popular pro HTML editing tool besides Notepad. And I'd like to show you some stuff we're doing in here. This is a website that we've mocked up. And one of the areas that we've been really looking at here in support of HTML is how do you actually do this with HTML5 across screens? Because now, obviously, we're all starting to target multiple devices. And so we're working here with HTML5 and a new capability that we're adding to Dreamweaver CS5, and it's called multi-screen preview. And what this enables you to do is actually see a 3-up of your website design so you can understand how it's going to look across these devices. And you can see right now, it doesn't look that good across these devices. But you can use CSS, of course, to customize your design. So what we're doing is making it really easy to hook up alternate CSS style sheets based on media queries. And so, for example, if I want to have a phone-sized one here, and a tablet-sized one, and maybe a desktop-sized one, I can set the width of each of these different style sheets so that when it hits that width, it will show that particular style sheet with the site. And then I'll press OK. And now you can see your design in 3 different formats. The same HTML5 code underneath, but now you're able to see 3 different renditions with CSS. And in fact, doing this production right now, it's really hard to understand how your stuff's working. You have to keep trying on all these different devices. We also support navigation here, so if I want to click, I can start playing through my site and see where I still need to work on my site some more. So this is going to be a big productivity increase for people trying to do HTML5 across devices. Now, in addition to the HTML5 work across devices, you can also do code editing, code completion, supporting things like the nav tag and other areas of HTML5, but also doing CSS things. For example, when I'm changing this page here, and actually you can see it changing between the different style sheets now, even live design view. So as you're editing the code, you can see the different views live while you're doing it. And say I want to edit this tablet one, I can open up the CSS for it. And right now, there's not much of an effect on these. But if I want to, I can actually make this go bigger here if I want to. Let me get the tablet one. There we go. See, it's popping up right there, but it's not very smooth. And so if I can add actually transition. Part of the new work that's going on in CSS is support for transitions. And you can see I've got code completion for all the new attributes in CSS. So I can do a WebKit transition here. And if I want to make it do like maybe a half a second transition, I can go and roll over. And now you can see I get a smooth rollover rather than the jerky one from before. And so that's supporting all the new transition effects in CSS in live view inside Dreamweaver, so you can start editing. And of course, this does gradual enhancement as you have browsers that support these versus ones that don't. But it works consistently now in the authoring tool. Now, the other thing that we've been looking at is how do we support enabling graphics inside the authoring environment some more. And let me show you another page in the site. And this is a table that has some availability for the one table that's in this cafe. And you can see it's booked or it's free. And it would be better if I had a picture showing the availability here. So let's go over to Illustrator. And Illustrator already supports SVG. We're working on some enhancements, though. And here's a graphic of a time clock. It's just a bunch of shapes and colors. And I'm going to actually connect this with JavaScript and CSS and make it a dynamic clock that shows the free and busy times at the cafe. And to first set the 2 different states, I'm going to actually select the fill color here in Illustrator. And from Illustrator, I'm going to create a CSS style. And this is going to represent the busy times. So I'll name it busy. And now I'm going to select this other one over here, the green one. And I'm going to make that a CSS style that says free. And now my JavaScript code can actually use those CSS styles and apply the right color to each of the different wedges. So let me export this as an SVG file. OK. And now I'm going to be able to go back into Dreamweaver. And I'm going to be able to insert this on the page. So here's where that table is. And the JavaScript code reads the table and then updates the SVG based on that. So let's insert the SVG. So just click Insert SVG. Let's go get my image. There's the clock. Import it. There's the object in SVG. And now when I go preview this inside of the browser, it should show the clock. So we've got the free busy times now showing with JavaScript, updating the SVG with CSS style sheets, and of course it's showing the current time too. So that's an example of how we're working to smoothly integrate graphics editing and HTML5 together in a really seamless way. This is something we're working on inside Illustrator. Now the third thing I wanted to show you is some further out thinking that we're doing about how we can do animations inside of CSS and JavaScript and HTML5. So here's an application that is a prototype that we're using to experiment with CSS and JavaScript. And this is an advertisement that we're using as an example, and we just put this together because we like Ducati and we thought it would be fun to show this as part of the example. And this is using totally HTML and CSS, and I can transition between a couple of states. So you can see I've got a pre-roll state here. I've got a bunch of layers, and I can see the different items on the page. And when I go to a different state, it animates automatically. Now I want a bike to come in here. So to do that, I'm just going to make the different shapes that I have defined here with CSS appear on the stage. And I can do that simply by editing these values. So I'm going to make this show up by changing its left side. And then I'm going to make it change its opacity. And then you can see the bike will fly in to the right. So it's actually happening live as I'm doing this editing here. And now when I switch between these two different states, you can see the animation's now working. Now let's add another bike. I want to make this nav down here work and add a second bike that can come in. So I'm just going to duplicate this state, create a new one called bike 2. And that's now creating another CSS animation basically around this second state. And I want the first bike to go away and the second bike to come in. So first, let's get the second bike to go away, and we'll make it fly off kind of fast and go 1,000 pixels off the stage and make it fade off. There goes the bike. OK. So now I'm going to make the new bike fly in, and I want the bike to fly in, be visible, and show up on the left like we did before. I got to type in pixels. OK. There it is. All right, cool. So now I've got these different states set up in my little application. Oh, and I want to make it so when I click on the nav, go to that bike. So I'm going to add a trigger. I'm going to say, OK, I want to, on click of the nav bike 2, which is a CSS ID, I'm going to be able to now animate to that bike. So let's preview this in the browser. There's the ad, rolls in, thing comes up, click on bike 2, and it acts, and bike 2 comes out. Isn't that cool? And of course, I can add other transitions and rollover effects and things like that. But that's some of the work that we're doing now to see what's really possible in terms of enabling tooling, great tooling around CSS, HTML5, and these other technologies. So that's some of the work we're doing. Now, there's one more thing, too, I wanted to talk about, which is support for video. And there's been a lot of great work in video done on the web, and it's great to see innovation continuing, and we're really excited to see the VP8 work that's happening now. And so we're so excited. We're going to put VP8 inside a Flash player, and we're going to distribute VP8 to over 1 billion people in less than a year of its release. So we're going to really help push out the VP8 codec. And we're really excited at what people are going to be able to do as video keeps maturing like this and innovating. And the other area we're working on is, of course, we're working with Google on a bunch of devices with Flash, and you're going to see a lot more of that on day 2. We're really excited about it, and we're really happy with the innovation that's going on the web and happy to be part of it. So thank you very much for having us here.
Thanks, Kevin. So we've seen these great web applications and what you can do with HTML5. But I want to talk about a couple of problems which remain on the web. The first is that it is very hard for users to find web applications. In the earlier days, literally you could walk into a retail store and pick software off the shelf. Then we talked about all the popular desktop applications. And it turned out there were sites like download.com where you could go and find these applications. Since 2004, we talked about how web applications are the main way by which developers are writing applications on computers. It turns out it's very hard to find these applications. Think about this example. Let's try to find a great chess game on the web. I've tried to do so. It turns out there are many, many great chess games on the web. But it's very hard to find one which is really good. There's no way for you to get ratings and reviews. You can search for it, but you can't see ratings, you can't see reviews, you don't know how many people are using this game. You can't engage in a discussion with other people who are playing the same game. It turns out it's actually much easier on a mobile phone to go find a chess game, whereas it is very, very hard to do the same on the web. So that's one problem. The second problem is as developers, when you write these applications, you need users to discover and use these applications. You need reach. You need to know how many users are you going to get for this application. The second thing developers care about is monetization. Today, advertising is the primary form to do this, and it works great in many, many cases. So advertising has been a very important form of monetization on the web. But we want to create other alternatives as well. For example, it should be easy to create and sell a premium application on the web. So these are the two problems we've been thinking hard about. And as part of that, we want to give you an early preview of a product, what we call the Chrome Web Store. So I'm going to introduce Can Liu, who's the product manager on the Chrome team, who's going to walk us through the Chrome Web Store. Again, this is an early preview. We are pulling this off tip of tree Chromium nightly builds, so bear with us. So what you're seeing is the new tab page of Chrome. So it's a very familiar paradigm to most users. These are applications, icons which you've installed right on the new tab page. One caveat, though, these are web applications. You can find them on the web anywhere. But now you can conveniently add it onto your new tab page. So as you can see, there's Clicker. Jim Lanzone talked about Clicker.com. I love that application. I have it installed on my new tab page. Let's go ahead and try one application. Let's try TweetDeck. I'm sure many of you are using TweetDeck right now in this audience. TweetDeck has written a complete HTML5 version of their application as well. And so what you're seeing is fully in the browser. It's really slick. You can drag and drop it. Let's go ahead and add a keyword for Google so that we can start watching the tweets come in. So you can add Google. They use the notifications API to deliver tweets to you right in the browser. They've also used the geolocation API. So you can click on it and see where all the tweets are coming from. So this is all done using HTML5 in the browser. Let's go ahead and send a tweet. And we can send it to the Google I/O channel, live from Google I/O. And so this is an application which I've conveniently installed in the new tab page. So let's go back there. One icon you will see on the bottom right is what we call the Chrome Web Store. So you click on the Web Store icon, and it takes you to a gallery full of applications. And so you can go here, discover applications, find ratings, reviews, find how many users are using these applications, add comments, etc. So Darkroom, you saw the demo earlier. I love that application. It costs $4.99. I can go ahead and buy it. We worked very hard to simplify the process. So once you set it up, it's normally one click to buy an application. So you can buy it and add it straight into the new tab page of Chrome. So, and you can start using it right away. So let's go back there. It turns out one of the important class of applications on the web is games. And people spend more time in all app stores. Games are the most popular form of applications. So let's try a couple. Plants and Zombies. It is a very popular game on phones. Now you have it in the Chrome Web Store. So you can click on it, and as you can see, it's a full immersive, full-screen experience right in the browser, the way most people want to play games. And this is built on Flash, and applications in the Chrome Web Store can be built on standard web technologies, including Flash, and we will support all of them in the Chrome Web Store. So the goal of this game is to knock zombies out, so we can move on. Let's go to the web store. Another game, which is a different class of game, which I'm excited to show. We call this Lego Star Wars. It is a 3D game. We were wondering what game to show this audience, and we figured as long as it has 3Ds, Legos, and Star Wars, it's going to work well. So we worked with this company called Unity Technologies. They have a game engine which really simplifies the development pipeline for game developers. We are showing it using their plugin, but they have a working demo in their sandbox of porting this game on top of native client, an open source technology which we will have in Chrome. Most game engines are written in native code, and it's going to be very hard to rewrite these in JavaScript. But now you can use something like native client to run them directly in the browser. So the purpose of this game is to go rescue R2-D2 and kill all the bad droids out there. But as you can see, it's a full 3D game. It is very rich, and it leverages a lot of HTML5 APIs. And Unity is working to port all their games on top of native client to get it working in Chrome. So these are rich, immersive 3D gaming experiences, which will be coming to the browser as well. So let's move on. So if you go back, we talked about games. Another important class of applications is around content, newspapers, magazines. When you read a magazine, it is a really nice experience. So how do you create that same experience on the web? This is an important problem, and we have reached out to magazine publishers to help create these experiences. To show what you can do in terms of producing content on the web, I would like to invite Terry McDonell, who is the editor of Sports Illustrated.
Walking out here, it occurred to me that I might be the oldest person in the room. But this is fine with me. In my business, still standing is a very good thing. My brand, Sports Illustrated, is a monster traditional brand. Storied, extremely lucrative, started from a very simple idea, self-defining, becoming more and more complicated, and now changing faster than it ever has. And it's not just Sports Illustrated. In my company, Time Inc., every single one of the iconic magazine brands, I'm talking about People, Fortune, Entertainment Weekly, and Time, is changing very fast also. The reason for this is that empowered engineers and developers, like all of you in this room, are in turn empowering and helping me as an editor to create new versions of Sports Illustrated. That's why I'm here. I'm going to start with a video here, and then we'll go live. But the video, hopefully, will have a little swagger to it, and it'll show you, sort of where we're coming from at Sports Illustrated. It starts with the first cover in 1954. Okay, we're live now. Driving today is the always dangerous David Link, founder of the Wonder Factory and SI's development partner in creating this live HTML5 prototype that will hopefully show some of the possibilities of bringing an enriched magazine to laptops, netbooks, and tablets. He's opening it from the Chrome store. It's really a very simple idea. It's to somehow pull together the best of the web, the best of the magazine. This came off press yesterday in Merced, our plant in Merced. To pull out the absolute most important things in the DNA of the magazine and translate them in a way that they're even more enjoyable, like the photography, for example. This goes very deep for us. We have staff photographers, one of the most popular things we have. And all the rest of it, of course. What I'm talking about here is a tightly edited, curated, free, open, social, searchable take on sports that you can customize for yourself by rearranging it. It's also, of course, going to have live video feeds, live news, live scores, like we have here. All of this built on a foundation of strong journalism and informed opinion about the stories of the moment, like Tiger here. And additional content that, in fact, will pull you in further, that will allow you to participate in this sports world. This is a poll that we're doing live right now about how to build a baseball franchise. It's not necessarily good news for the Giants. This is one of our sports columns. We have a number of these every week. This is, of course, boxing, which is enriched by a video that is about what happened outside the ring, behind the velvet ropes, in the background. You don't want to mess with Floyd.
I just believe in my skills and I believe in my talent.
And of course, here's hockey, here's your golf, here's the NFL. Always need video there, always need highlights. These of the #1 draft choice, Sam Bradford out of Oklahoma. Of course, you might want to not watch this now, want to save it for later, which you can do here. But most important, I think, is to always know where you are in this magazine so you can find what you want and go directly to it. For example, here's a piece on the end of the road for Shaq. Kind of a bad call. The typography here is very, very important because you came here to read this story. And nothing retards reading like the formula fonts that we're so used to online. And say here's a strong portrait of Shaq. We can deliver for you video of this photo shoot and how we put that cover together. We can do this. This was a chancy call. The idea also that you need to go deeper is very important because you might want additional stories about Shaq and his future. There they are. You might want to go wider. You might want to go into the NBA to see about LeBron. Or you might want to just see pictures of the last time they played together to see what that was like. And finally, you probably want to share any and or all of this with your friends or whoever. And you have a number of choices there. And as you're running through this, you can always keep up with what other NBA fans are thinking and saying about the league on Google Buzz. All this stuff works very hard for the user. And the advertising, I think, has to work very hard too. No more image messaging, really. What we need is stuff that is actually useful. So this advertising, I submit to you, can become so useful that it becomes content in and of itself. This is a new idea in advertising. Or it's not a new, it would be new to actually deliver it. You can, but as you see here, you can change the lens and see what that's like, and then of course you want to buy it, so we can show you where to buy it. So what you can see that we're going for here is additional content of every kind, content that is enriched and of the moment and feels different and right and like a magazine experience, like nothing else that you see on the web today. And when it is on the point of the most important stories of the moment in sports, say like in this case, the impact of soccer on world peace coming into the World Cup, this is a very good and interesting thing for us to be working on. There we go. Now, like I said, this came off the press in Merced. It is that. Some of that was a little bit different, but it was live. But this is something that that we're very, very excited about coming forward with. And the reason for that is that in the fall of last year, not long after SI released a video demo of what an enriched magazine might look like on a tablet, I found myself in a very small conference room in Mountain View. And it hit me there that I was at the beginning of a veritable storm of innovation that might not be so new in Mountain View, but that was going to allow the journalism that I want and that my company Timing stands for to flourish and to completely reimagine, remake the business model to support it. So I'm thinking about, that quote in the sports movie Field of Dreams where he says, if you build it, they will come. I would add an addendum to that. It has to be built open, it has to be well edited, has to be searchable, has to be social, and it has to be everywhere. And If we do that, we can charge for it. It's great to be with you.
Talking to Terry, it's been very obvious his passion for the quality of what they want to see. And they would not do it on the web unless they can create an immersive experience like that. So it's really possible to do this in the browser using HTML5. And we really hope you and everyone watching this will showcase applications like what we just saw. So what does it mean to build on the Chrome Web Store? It means that you can reach over 70 million users. These are primary users of Chrome as of today. And in June of last year, when we talked about Chrome OS, we said we had 30 million users. As of today, we are over 70 million users, and the number is growing fast. So these people will be able to have the web store right on their new tab page and discover, add both free and paid applications. So it's also important to remember that this web store will also be there in Chrome OS as well. So the Chrome Web Store will work on Chrome on Windows, Mac, Linux, and Chrome OS. It'll support both free and paid applications. It will work in over 40 languages and over 70 countries. We will be bringing this in the Chrome Dev channel soon, and we'll have a whole session at I/O to talk more about this. One thing I want to add is we support standard web technologies, and so applications written for Chrome Web Store will also continue to work on every other modern browser out there. So it's been really exciting to talk about HTML5. We've always believed that the future of web is HTML5. And over the course of the last few months, it's been very exciting to see every major browser vendor share that opinion as well. So with that, I'm going to invite Lars Rasmussen, who spoke to you last year about Google Wave, an amazing example of what's possible in the browser, to give a future update on HTML5.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. So the web has grown up, and Google Wave is starting to grow up as well. It's been a full year since we showed you what was really our vision for how real-time communication and collaboration could work on the web. We showed you right here on this stage here with an 80-minute demo last year, and today Google Wave is a product that people are starting to use to get real work done all over the world. And we're going to show you that today with a 90-minute demo. I'm just kidding, we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is this. We're going to open up Wave to everyone today. So you no longer need an invitation to use Wave. Just go to wave.google.com and log right in. Thank you. Thank you. So we're making Wave part of Google Apps, where particularly ambitious, you might even say crazy services start their life. Maps, my last project, started there 5 years ago. Wave has been in an invitation-only preview for half a year. We've gotten tons of great feedback. Thanks so much for that. And more than anything, we've learned that Wave really shines as a place to get work done. In particular, if you have a group or a team of people that use Wave to collaborate on all manners of projects. And I think we hear a lot, and this actually matches our own experience, is that Wave changes the way you work, sometimes in subtle and unexpected ways. And we hear this in many different contexts. Of course, lots of programmers use Wave to coordinate their work. But we hear things like a fifth grade teacher has her students do all the research in Wave, and the kids love the live typing. It feels like you're talking to the other participants on the Wave, and the teacher loves it because she can see in real time what they're doing and jump right in and provide guidance. Brick and mortar businesses like this hotel here, they use Wave exclusively to track and discuss all of their tasks during a day. They tell us how Wave stops issues from falling through the cracks and helps keep everyone on the same page every day. Deloitte is a good example. They have a new project team that's spread over 4 or 5 countries, and they use Wave to coordinate all of the work and tell us how Wave actually saves them money in travel and VC cost. And so since Wave is about getting work done, it's important for us to get Wave make Wave available at work and at schools. And so also today, we're making Wave part of Google Apps. If you have an apps domain, you or your administrator can easily enable Wave for all of your users at no extra cost. Thank you. And let me just say this. If you tried Wave already, in particular early on during the preview, and you found it wasn't quite ready to get work done, now's a good time to come back and give it a second try. Wave is a lot faster, and it's a lot more stable than when we started the preview, and we put a lot of work into just basic usability things, like you can now get email notifications when your Wave change. We've made it easier to navigate the unread pieces, of a Wave. We have added tutorials and templates to help new users get started. You can now remove a participant if you add them by mistake. All of those things, if you have a group or a team, you're working on a project together, try out Wave. I think you will find it makes you more productive. Now, this is a developer event, and I think already some of the coolest things about Wave are things you guys have built. We really, really appreciate that. And continuing to improve our APIs are hugely important to us. And so just a few months ago, we launched an entire new version of our robot API that lets robots create waves and push content into waves on their own schedule. We recently made it a lot easier to embed a wave on your own website. We even made it possible for non-Wave users to see a public wave that you embedded on your website. And today, we're checking off a bunch of top requested features of our API. For starters, we're rolling out a change that means that robots no longer have to live on Google App Engine. They can now live anywhere on the web, which makes it a lot easier to integrate Wave with your own application. We're also launching a new Wave Data API designed to let you build things like notifiers, but also lightweight clients, in particular for mobile devices. We're adding media and attachment features to both our robot and gadget APIs, so that you can integrate with places like Picasa or Flickr and so on, and you can build inline viewers for media types in Wave. We're also adding a bunch more hooks for your extensions to integrate into our client. And if you want to see some of the cool things people have already built, join us out on the floor in the developer sandbox. For example, Salesforce.com is with us today showing how they're embedding waves into their new product, Chatter. Now also, we've always wanted Wave to be an open technology so that anyone should be able to build their own Wave service and have it interoperate in real time with Google Wave. And so we were super excited late last year when Novell announced that their new product, Pulse, is going to support the Wave Federation protocol. And today, SAP is announcing that their new product, Streamwork, will also support the Wave Federation protocol. Both companies are with us today out on the floor and at a session later where we'll show demos of how our different Wave services are starting to be able to talk to each other in real time. And to make this sort of thing easier for others to build their own Wave systems, we are today open sourcing additional components of our production code, in particular the in-browser editor, which is one of the hardest pieces to write. We're also publishing, and thank you. We're also publishing, and this is another top requested feature, we're publishing the beginnings of a client-server protocol so that you guys will be able to build any Wave client you want and put it on top of any Wave service that speaks this new protocol, which of course will include Google Wave. Now, just to end off, I want to remind you that we're using Wave at this conference here. There's a couple of waves allocated for each sessions. You can use them to ask questions of the presenter. Someone will take live notes, and you can discuss the session in there. I really hope to see you later, either out on the floor at one of the many sessions that we have today and tomorrow, or, of course, on Wave. Happy waving, everyone. Thank you. And so, just like Wave is getting to work, our next speaker will talk about the web going to work. Please welcome Google Director of Engineering, David Glazer.
All right, all right. So Sundar showed you how open standards are leading to innovation in the consumer web. With the help of people like Terry and Kevin and Håkon, showed you how open standards have always allowed more choice, which has always led to more innovation. Lars showed you how that's true with Google Wave, and he showed you how Google Wave is now heading off to work.
Well, I'm going to spend the next 45 minutes showing you more about how is the web making work better. What are the things that we can do to help the web transform what we all do at work, what our customers do at work, what our partners do at work? How can the web help there? The good news is the web is already transforming the way we work. I can't imagine doing email without Gmail. I can't imagine collaborating on a presentation or on a design document by mailing around versions of content back and forth between people and saying, who's got the latest one, who's got what edit? And I can't imagine being tethered to one particular physical device to find my data and my applications. It would make no sense anymore. You know that, I know that, we all know that, companies know that. Every company we talk to is trying to figure out how can I shift my weight to the cloud? How can I use the web more heavily with the applications that I use and the applications that I build at work? The problem is, it's still hard to do that. It's still too hard to take advantage of the web at work. It's hard for a few reasons. First, it's hard because it takes too long. From the time you have a great idea, or your boss has a great idea, or the VP of marketing has a great request, from the time you have the great idea and you want to create a great application, new technology, new tools, takes too long to turn that idea into reality. The second thing that's hard is we don't stand in one place anymore. That application that you're running, you might need to access it from the back of a taxi cab. Some of your users need to access it from an airport or from the lobby of their hotel. Because people are working everywhere, they're working all the time, the applications that you build for them need to run on all the devices that people are using. The third thing that's hard today is architectures tend to trap people so that the choice you make in what tool stack do I use, how am I building my application, that choice you make today locks you in to a deployment model for tomorrow that you may not be ready to lock yourself into. And then finally, if any of you have the job that this guy has, you look at this slide and probably say, ha, he's only got a half dozen applications he's taking care of for his company. The CIOs that we talk to tell us that they usually have on the order of 1,000 applications that they're trying to manage to run their business, and they need better tools to be able to manage all those applications. Well, over the next 40 minutes, we're going to show you what we've done working with other people to enable fast and familiar development using tools and languages you already know to crank out great web applications. We're going to show you how to make those applications mobile ready so they can run and reach your users wherever your users are. We're going to show you an architecture based on open standards that gives you flexible deployment. So you have portability. You can choose how you want to build your apps, and you can choose where you want to deploy your apps separately. And finally, we'll show you some new tools that give you the ability to manage the hundreds and thousands of apps that are being built to run businesses in the cloud. Now, as we set out to do this, it was very important that we did this staying true to the principles and values of the web. The principles and values that you've heard all morning about how open standards lead to interoperability and portability, which leads to choice, and choice is what drives innovation. We looked for who can we work with, who can we collaborate with that shares those values, that understands the importance of standards enabling innovation, and that has spent years understanding how to help enterprise developers build great apps at work. And I'm very happy to announce that we've been working closely with VMware to enable exactly that, building on our complementary strengths to enable open standards to lead to great innovation in the enterprise. I'd like to welcome to the Google I/O stage Paul Maritz, the president and CEO of VMware, to tell you a little bit about what we've been doing together.
Good morning. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today. Most of you will know VMware in terms of the work that we've been doing in allowing existing applications to be iterated forward and take advantage of a cloud-oriented way of doing computing. Customers have huge investments in large bodies of existing applications that they can't walk away from, and just about the only hope for these applications is through virtualization, which allows you to kind of encapsulate these applications, jack them up, put them in a black box, slide new functionality in underneath them, and actually eventually start sliding the applications themselves around. So we've been doing a lot of work in this world of existing applications, allowing customers and companies to become more cloud-like in their internal operations and actually allow them to start extending their data centers outside of their own physical premises into infrastructure that they can rent from external service providers. And this is all well and good. It's very important work to be doing. But the question really becomes, what about new applications? And it's clear that there are going to be many clouds out there. Customers are going to build their clouds internally. Service providers are going to build clouds. Very large companies like Google are going to build clouds. And wouldn't it be great if we could have a way of writing applications that on the one hand can take full advantage of a particular cloud, but also be portable across clouds? If you think of these infrastructure level clouds as kind of the new hardware, what is the new operating system for the cloud? What is that layer of abstraction that's going to allow us to write applications that can look great on a variety of clouds? And it's our premise, as is Google's, that the new operating system is these extended frameworks. And as you well know, developers over the last several years have by and large voted with their feet and traditionally now work within frameworks that give them much higher levels of productivity. And that's the reason last year we at VMware acquired what we think is one of the best of breed new generation frameworks, the Spring framework. This comes from work that was started 2002 by Rod Johnson and others who founded Spring, who had been working in the Java world and had come to the conclusion it was just too hard to write Java and EJB applications. And they evolved the Spring framework, which is oriented around a very simple, lightweight, but extremely powerful object model. With the result is that more than half of the lines of new Java code being written today are written in the context of the Spring framework. They started that effort based on open source, and they have continued in the open and open source tradition, and we're committed to continuing that. And so late last year, we started in-depth conversations with Google and said, wouldn't it be great to give the world's largest body of developers, the Java community, a way of writing really efficient, great cloud-based applications? And as a result, we have been working with Google to bring to bear what we know about writing the back end of great high-performance portable applications with what Google has developed around the front end. A perfect marriage is to bring these two technologies together and give the industry an open source layer to cloak the clouds, to allow you to get the fullest benefit from your investments. The one thing I've learned over the years is the more choice you give developers, the more promise you give to developers that they're going to be able to get a return on their investment by having the widest possible number of places that they can deploy this technology, the greater the motivation, the greater the applications that result. So we have had our two teams working together to really integrate the Spring framework and the Google Web Toolkit, and now give a complete answer as to how to write an end-to-end application, the back end and the front end, in a way that you can deliver really great, exciting apps that work across clouds, across devices, with a deep commitment to doing this in an open and open source fashion. So with that, very happy to let you see some of the results of this work. Thank you.
Paul. Thanks. Thank you, Paul. Been very excited to work with Paul. Been even more excited to have our engineers and Paul's engineers working together to deliver on exactly what he said. The first of the promises that we made is that over the next 40 minutes, we're going to show you how we can use familiar tools to enable fast development. And the way we've done that is we have, exactly as Paul said, integrated the Spring back-end development tools, which let Java developers build great back-ends to their apps, with the Google Web Toolkit front-end, so you get the power of HTML5 in a complete Java stack, back-end and front-end, integrated together. And to show you how that works, I'd like to bring up Ben Alex, who's the lead engineer for Spring Roo, and Bruce Johnson, who's the lead of the Google Web Toolkit team, to give you a demo of how do these tools actually work together, which you will be able to try yourself after the keynote.
Thank you, David. So if you've used Google Web Toolkit before, you know that GWT makes it easy to build rich web applications completely in Java. Not only the server-side code, which you've always been able to write in Java, but also the client-side, the AJAX code that runs in the browser. The way that we do that is the GWT compiler takes your Java source code and cross-compiles it into highly optimized JavaScript that downloads quickly, it runs quickly in all the popular web browsers that your users are likely to use. But of course, you've seen that before. It works great, no problem. The question is, where do you get that Java source code in the first place? For a really huge Java app, sometimes a lot of the code can be sort of boilerplate code, the sort of code that connects your browser to the data store in the back end. That's the sort of code that you don't really want to have to write. And so when we started working with VMware, we said, hey, what about this? And they said, we have a tool that does exactly this. It saves you a whole bunch of time writing the code that you don't want to automatically on your behalf. So we used Google Wave to coordinate the engineering teams between Sydney, Germany, Atlanta, Mountain View, and San Francisco. We used it all the time, round the clock, every day, working together. And we made GWT and Spring Roo work together. The tool I was talking about is Roo, and we are lucky to have the father of Roo, Ben Alex, here to tell you more about Roo and to show you Roo in action. Ben.
Thanks, Bruce. So as we were thinking about what to do for you today, we thought, what better way of showing you the tooling work that we've been doing together than to build you an application live on stage? And it occurred to us that there's something that's very near and dear to most of our hearts in this room: expense reports. We're all probably going to go home and log expense reports, so we thought, let's build you an enterprise application that will store expense reports. What's interesting about this, though, is we're going to build this application for you. We're going to have a GWT front end, we're going to build the back end with Roo, with all the Spring goodness, and we're going to do this in less than 200 keystrokes. So let's get started. So I have here an empty directory, and we load up Roo. Roo is an open source tool that you can go and download. And it has a text mode. There's also a graphical version, which I'll show you a little bit later. But Roo loads up, it looks like this. You can get full command help with Roo by typing hint at any time. And let's start our project. So here I've specified my Java top-level package. And we need some databases. So let's go and do that. Persistent setup. Notice that tab's working. We have data nucleus, which is great if you're going to be deploying to the Google App Engine. But we're going to deploy to hypersonic in memory for now. So now that we've got our persistence layer, let's create some entities. So this database is going to have two tables to start with. It's going to have an employee table, and it's going to have a report table. Let's make the tables, and let's put some items into, let's put some columns into them. So here I've used the GWT conventions of specifying that this is a server class, so therefore don't compile it down to JavaScript. And let's add some fields. And we can use the up arrow to save a little bit of time. And let's go and get a report. And for something different, let's add a date field. So it's going to be the created date for our expense report. And I think we'll take a Java date for that. Terrific. So now we've actually got the Java backend taken care of. We could run this up if we wanted to, but let's get a front end. Let's get a GWT front end. As a result of the integration work we've been doing, it's super easy to do that. All I have to do is type GWT, press tab, and press enter. So what's happening now is Roo's going to have a look at our domain model. It's going to turn this into a GWT application. It looks at all of our columns, all of our entities, and does that for us very quickly. You can run this up in the development mode just like you normally would if you're familiar with GWT. To save a little bit of time, I've done that for you already. And this is what the resulting scaffolded application looks like. So it's very simple at the moment. We have the tables that we promised, and we can go and create a new employee. And it goes and stores it as we'd expect. You can edit, do all the normal sort of cruddy stuff. But something that occurs to me is, what if we wanted to put an extra column in there? What if we wanted to put, say, a comment column? How do we do that? Well, the good thing is Roo supports full round tripping, and we have a tool called SpringSource Tool Suite. This is our free IDE, which you can also go and download, and it has comprehensive Roo integration, as illustrated by this Roo logo down at the bottom. So in order to add an extra column to our database, you just edit in the normal Java fashion, string comment, and I haven't saved yet, but when I click the Save button, I'd like you to just look in this area down at the bottom of the screen. So what's happened is Ru's automatically detected that I've changed my Java class, and it's gone and updated all of the necessary GWT user interface bits and pieces. In order to see this in action, I just go over to development mode, click refresh. It's a very fast refresh. It only takes about 2 seconds, which is unbelievably fast. And now if we have a look at Data Browser, and we refresh the browser app, employees, and there we have it. We now have a comment field. And just to show you that it works, and it persists fine. So what we've done in just a couple of minutes is we've gone from an empty directory, we've typed less than 200 characters, and we've ended up with a GWT front-end scaffolded for us with full round-tripping capability. So this is a great way of saving time as you're building new GWT applications. At this point, I'm going to hand you back to Bruce, who's going to cover some of the other integrations we've added to STS.
Thank you, Ben. So 200 keystrokes later, we have the basics of an application, a scaffolding app that we can build on. You saw STS, the IDE experience. We've also integrated Google plugin for Eclipse and GWT and Appigen SDKs right there in STS so that you have all the tools you need right there at your fingertips. So we used that environment to continue iterating on the app using GWT and Ru to continue to add new features and so on. And after a couple of days, turned it into a pretty real expense reporting app. So, added a little bit of UI polish, and it's a nice, rich web application. So I keep saying rich web application. What's exciting about that? Well, it's a much better user experience. So let me point out a couple things. First of all, it's very fast. So I'll refresh just to show you how fast it starts. Ready? 1, 2, 3, refresh. Refresh, refresh, refresh. That's drawing the UI, and that's getting the data, and it's up and running. That's about 500 milliseconds. Not bad. It's part of the reason for that, by the way, is that the app is only 100K. It's optimized JavaScript, as I mentioned, and that includes even the CSS and the image resources encoded as data URLs. Another nice thing about this style of rich web application that runs heavily inside the browser is that you don't have that sort of stuttery Web 1.0 click and wait kind of feel. So for example, when I want to drill down on one of these expense reports, I don't have to wait for a new page to come up. I'm going to click this, and you'll see it animates and transitions very fluidly, right? 1, 2, 3, click, and there I have the details. So this is the way you want to work. It keeps users engaged, and it helps you basically speed things up. One other nice thing about a rich web application is it gets exactly the data you need right when you need it. In traditional HTML server-side applications, you tend to spit out a lot of HTML with data intermingled because you're not sure what the user might want to see. But when I have an interactive application, I know what the user wants. So for example, if I want to see the number of people in the engineering department, I'll click on this triangle, and right when I click, it will fetch exactly the data that I need to answer that one user action. Click, and that actually did a network round trip, found 2 employees, populated the UI, and showed them. And we think that's fantastic. It really speeds up the app and makes it feel more responsive to what you're actually doing. Now, if you've been using GWT for a while, and we hope you have, probably nothing I'm saying here, aside from Ru, is actually new to you. You know that you can build these sort of rich web applications pretty easily. What is still a problem, though, once you get your app up and working, is how do you make sure that it performs well? Some of these apps get really large, and there can be bottlenecks inside the browser that are hard to diagnose. So to address this, we created a tool called Speed Tracer. We launched Speed Tracer in December as part of GWT 2.0. And I'll turn on Speed Tracer here. It's a Chrome extension. I'll continue to use the app, and Speed Tracer is in the background, paying attention to what I'm doing and recording information. So here, I will pause it. I'm going to zoom out. You see this is a nice HTML5 WYSI UI, all built in GWT, of course. I look at the sluggishness graph. I see a peak. That's an area that I could optimize if I want to. I'll drill down, and Speed Tracer shows me this bar, which has a lot of stuff going on, and it tells me down to the millisecond where time is going. So I see that a lot of the time is script evaluation, but it's also parsing HTML, recalculating styles due to CSS changes, doing layout. You can even see things like garbage collection. Basically, there's not even a single millisecond of time that happens within the browser that you cannot find out about in Speed Tracer. It's like an X-ray machine for your browser's guts, right? But that's not where all the time goes in an application. Sometimes the server is what's actually slow. So we realized what we need is a tool that's sort of like Speed Tracer, but for the server. Well, it turns out that tool exists also, and SpringSource had it. It's called Spring Insight. And Spring Insight tells you on a request-by-request basis the timings of various actions inside the server. So as I was using this app, I was gathering Spring Insight data. Here I can drill in, and you can see there was an HTTP post that did a JDBC select, and I can drill down to see even more details. So if you think it would be neat to combine that information with Speed Tracer, we think alike, because that's exactly what we did. And so I'll go back to the Network tab here, and I can see a pretty traditional-looking network view like you might have seen in Firefox or WebKit Inspector, except now I have these nifty icons here that say, hey, for this request, I have data about timings on the server side as well. And so when I expand this out, I can see the HTTP post as the server viewed it, and I can see that there was a JDBC select call that happened on the server. So what we've done then is combined all the sources of latency, client, network, server, all into one view inside Speed Tracer. It helps you drill down and find out any source of latency whatsoever. So Spring Insight comes with the developer edition of TC Server as part of SpringSource tools. And that's great for tuning performance at your desktop. At some point, you feel like it's good enough. It's time to deploy, right? If you've used Google plugin for Eclipse, you know that deploying is really just essentially one button click. There's an App Engine icon there inside Eclipse. You click that icon, it goes to App Engine and continues running as it did before. So we clicked that button. And so now we have the same application running on App Engine. And the network is a bit slow. So this is the same application, same code, simple upload. We've added some additional data to make it more realistic. But if you've ever done any sort of real performance tuning, you know that the way it works on your desk is not the way it's going to work in production, right? So you need the same sort of tools we were talking about, but you need them to work even on your production server in the cloud. Well, it turns out App Engine introduced something that's almost exactly like Spring Insight 2 months ago. It's called App Stats. And if you've seen App Stats, you realize that, wow, if you could get that data, pull that into Speed Tracer, then you could always do diagnostics and performance tuning even when your code is running in production on App Engine. And indeed, we did do that and integrated it back into Speed Tracer. So as you can click around here, use the app a bit. We'll come back over to Speed Tracer, zoom out, take a look at some of the network events here at the end. And, well, the network here is horribly slow. But you see these icons popping in. That indicates that we have App Stats data integrated back into Speed Tracer. Here you can see where we've hit the App Engine data store. So you, thank you. That was not really, I wasn't seeking applause. I was just gathering my thoughts. Although it is cool, I think. Okay, so these are all tools, right? We've been talking about the tools, editing, debugging, deployment, performance tuning, and so on. Tools are definitely a huge part of the story. But to be really productive, you also need great widget libraries and a great app framework. Now, we've been a little deficient in the widget area in GWT in the sense that people want easy-to-use widgets that are you drop them or you code them into your app. It's very easy to connect those widgets to data that lives on the cloud or on the database or so on. And they want to make it really easy to connect widgets to each other with a minimum of glue code. So we've taken this really seriously as part of GWT 2.1. And so we've got a new set of data presentation widgets that we're really, really excited about. Now, if you're like us, you've seen dozens of Ajax widget demos where they show you the kitchen sink, right? And so I wouldn't presume that you'd be especially excited to see some new widgets. So I was thinking about how I can actually make you interested in this anyway. So I said, well, we know that these widgets have been designed to be lightweight, fast, small, and work with massive data sets, but let me actually figure out a way to convince you that actually works that well. I said to the team, hey, let's do some ridiculous amount of data, like 18 million records, and show that everything still works fast. I was joking, but they really took me seriously. And so yesterday, I think the latest numbers were we had filled this database full of 125,000 employees, 5,000 expense reports, each of which has multiple line items for a total of about 20 million line items. So a non-trivial amount of data. I think 125,000 employees for an expense report app is probably towards the high end. So now I want you to take a look at the widgets and think about how this app is performing, knowing that we're working against a database with 20 million plus records. Okay? So what sort of things do you want to do? Let's see. I'll page. And I'm paging through 5 million records, expense reports. Try this yourself, because on a non-congested wireless, you'll find that it pages about as fast as you'd want it to. Actually, this does sort of undermine my point, doesn't it? Wired. We'll see if the wired connection kicks in. Am I brave enough to do this? Yeah, okay. Much better, right? So that was what you were supposed to get excited about. Everybody needs to page through 5 million records, and when you do that, you want it to be fast. Okay, so sorting, often done. So you click on the header, and you want to sort quickly. Sort by date. We're talking about seconds, which seems like a long time in demos, but when you think about sorting 5 million records inside your own company, if you have to wait a couple seconds, not too bad. And as you can see, as it warms up through more use, it gets faster and faster and faster. Okay, so maybe I want to narrow down by department. Right now, they're all intermingled. I click on that, and I'm looking among the 5 million, the ones that are just in engineering, or maybe finance, or maybe marketing. Maybe I want to drill down to an individual person, also very fast, right? You saw before how quickly we can jump into the details of any person we pick among the 20 million line items, right? Another neat feature is the ability to search and highlight within the page. So here we see a lot of expense reports with W/. So I'll type on a keystroke by keystroke, you'll see it matching the records in the current page. W/Z. So that keeps up with me. That's fantastic. And now I can press enter, and it will do an actual query that will give me back a result set that matches my search term. So I'm going to press enter, 1, 2, 3, enter. And now among the 5 million expense reports, I'm getting the ones that happen to match my search term, and I can continue to page through those at my leisure. Thanks. Okay. Quick refresh of where we are. A few minutes ago, you saw us start with an empty directory. In less than 200 keystrokes, we had the scaffolding app. We used the tools that now are integrated and work really well together, spent a couple of days to create a more full-featured application. We tuned it on the desktop using Spring Insight and Speed Tracer. With one click, we deployed it to App Engine. We continued to tune it using Speed Tracer plus App Stats. And we uploaded a massive amount of data. It literally took a couple of days to get that much data in the database, as a matter of fact. And the app still runs exactly like you'd want it to. We think that's pretty cool. And we're excited for you guys to try these tools yourself. Yeah. Thanks. The clicker is right there. Yeah.
Thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Ben. If you want to learn more, there are sessions. You can find them on your Android app. You can find them in the schedule where you can listen to the sessions and talk to the engineers afterwards. What you just saw is not just a pretty cool app built on stage. What you also saw is the tools that let you build those kind of apps with that kind of performance for your company, your needs, your use cases. Well, the second promise we made is we're going to show you how to make those apps mobile ready. And I'm happy to say that that exact same widget library that Bruce just showed you how it performs really well on a laptop at work. That same widget library is ready for mobile devices, makes it much easier to take one application and say, I want to access this data from all the devices I'm using, from tablets, from phones, which matches the real-world use needs of applications like this. So to show you how that works, I'm going to ask Ben to come back up, ask Bruce to come back up, and they're going to show you, same expense app, how it runs on mobile devices using the same widget libraries.
Hello again. Thanks, David. So yeah, all the cool widgets against a massive data set, that was all in a desktop browser. But if your companies are like Google, chances are people are not at their desks all the time. They've all these new great mobile devices, and you want to make sure these apps work well and are available on the device that your users happen to actually be using. Well, as it turns out, when we designed these new widgets that I was just bragging about, we made sure from the beginning that they work particularly well on mobile devices. And as you know, you have to think about mobile devices are typically slower CPUs to save battery. You've got slower network connections and so on. So to show you these widgets in action on mobile devices, we took the expense report app that you saw, we customized it just a little bit to adapt it to each of a couple of different devices. And so here I've got an iPad. So this is the same app. Let me connect to the network here. This wireless network is my friend. And it works the same way that you would expect it to from what you saw previously. And it does all small adaptations so that it feels more appropriate for the device. So finger dragging and things like that. But I can still page just the same way. Basically the same app. I'm reusing almost all the same code. So that is on an iPad. And Ben has a version that is running on Android.
Indeed, and over on this Android version, we have the same sort of UI gestures that you'd be expecting, and we have a nice interface, and it's very easy to use. So we thought what we'd do is we'd show you how it works, and you'll see some of the cool features in the new widgets. So why don't I log an expense report? I've been here at Google I/O. I've been actually here for a week now, but I've been working really hard. I've been working really late hours, so I'm going to have dinner, and I think I'm going to log an expense report and have a good dinner. Wi-Fi. So we type in dinner, and I've had a good dinner. So let's finish typing it. $150. Excellent. So I must qualify. I'm not sure Wi-Fi is going to work for us at the moment. So we should see this work, but we disclaim. So I'm going to hit the done key on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And have a look over at Bruce's machine. And we'll see if Wi-Fi is being good to us.
Double check the done. Are you sure you nailed that? We probably should enlarge those buttons the next time we do this.
Let's connect.
It's worth waiting for.
It's worth waiting for. It's a great demo. Okay, back to internet. So let's try this again. Refresh. We can't plug Ethernet into these ones, unfortunately.
So if this doesn't come back in a second, we will describe to you in extreme detail, pixel by pixel, what you would be seeing were the network not completely overloaded right now. In fact, maybe we should just do that. Let's do one last attempt.
One last try.
We should use that HTML5 app cache feature.
We should
add
that.
The whole point
We'll
actually is that you see two different views of the app here, and both of the apps are live. Let's see if we can pull this off.
No.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Oh, hang on. We're up. Okay, here we go. So delete the last 2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been working hard at Google I/O, rewind, and I've been doing lots of work, and I've had a good dinner. So let's try and add the dinner together, and you'll be able to see these new widgets in action. So let's press the plus key, and it was dinner. And as I said earlier, we've been having a good dinner. The joys of working late. Okay, and what we wanted to show you and it does require internet, so here we go. I'm going to press done on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And have a look over at Bruce's screen.
Yay! Yay, yay, yay. OK, so you saw that pop in. Now, I like that. I like that. But what I do not like, as Ben's pretend manager here, is $150 for dinner, because I had assumed he was going to go fast food. This is not working for me at all. So I'm going to deny this. And I am going to say that you, Ben, are nuts. I don't know if you can read that. It says you are nuts. I'm going to confirm. And 1, 2, 3, we should see network willing that Ben has been now updated in real time. And so versus maybe your normal expense report cycle where your boss sits on it for 6 weeks.
My dinner was rejected. It's a good thing I'm still here. I haven't left yet. OK, so I am nuts. OK, so let's amend it then. So let's go and edit. Let's backtrack. And I'm not going to round the bill up this time. $148. And because I can't calculate tax here in California, so I'm from Australia, I don't know what the total will be, but $148.13, and done on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And
come on, you can do it. Yes, 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 yes. That's right. Oh, 148.13. Now, that is a different story. I mean, that's nothing. That's chump change. Sure. No problem, Ben. Ben, thank you. That was fantastic. So, anyway, aside from the network glitches, let's talk about the whole arc that you've just seen, right? We started with an empty directory. 200 keystrokes later, you have an app. You have a powerful set of tools that helps you iterate quickly. You've got a nice widget library, an app framework to help you build apps that work very responsively, even against huge data sets that are running in the cloud. You've got performance tuning tools that are great for diagnostics, both on your desktop and in the cloud. And then you've got the knowledge that these applications that you're building with the tools that we're talking about here can be easily adapted to all the different mobile devices that your users are actually using. We hope you'll try these out. We're really excited about all these things that are coming in GWT 2.1 and Spring Roo and STS. A lot of great stuff. Please do download it and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. And again, if you want to hear more, want to see these things in action, try them yourself. The sessions, attend the session, talk to the engineers, download the code. You can build apps like that. You can have your own demo fun with your own applications that you've built on these open tools. Do your own innovation. The third thing we said we were going to show you is flexible deployment. We've been showing you how to build these great web apps, but what do you do when you build them? How do you make sure you're not locked into one architecture when you're building them? Well, the answer is, because you're building on open standards, you're not locked in. You've actually been seeing, over the last few demos, you've been seeing cloud portability in action. The first few demos you saw, built with one tool stack, open standards, were running on a development server right here on the development box. You then saw some demos when Bruce started showing you Speed Tracer using Insight. You saw those same demos, same application, deployed to a virtual machine running on a VMware instance using TC Server. And then you saw some of the same demos running on Google App Engine. Same application using Google App Engine. You saw Speed Tracer tracing across that. And how do you, as a developer, make that decision? What do you change in your app to do these different deployments? Well, Bruce showed you. If you want to deploy your app to Google App Engine, you're in Eclipse using the toolset. You click on the button. You're deployed to Google App Engine. But because this app is built on the open standards, the Java Container API, Java Persistence API, if you want to deploy to any of the other open standard supporting environments, drag, drop, deploy your project to any server that supports these standards, behind your firewall, in the cloud. It all just works because open standards lead to innovation. So we've shown you how to use familiar tools to build apps quickly, how to have those apps work everywhere you want, both every device you want, and deploy them on every architecture you want. That means you're now going to have a lot of apps. And if you have a lot of apps, you need to have tools to manage your applications in the cloud. I'd like to welcome Kevin Gibbs, the lead of the Google App Engine team, to show you what's happening in Google App Engine to help you work with all the applications that you need.
Thanks, everybody. Now, today, you've seen some examples of Google's approach to helping with enterprise software. Now, we don't believe in silver bullets or single solutions, but instead, we believe in looking at the productivity of your company as a whole and seeing what we can do to help. Now, one area that we've noticed is a growing productivity problem for a lot of you out there is managing all of the applications of your company. Companies grow, engineering teams change, servers move, and as all of that happens, it becomes increasingly difficult to manage all of the applications as your company. As your company grows, from having a few internet apps to having hundreds, and from 10 employees to thousands, managing that whole ecosystem and keeping it healthy becomes an increasingly large challenge for you. So at Google, we thought about this problem, and we wanted to do something to help. Of course, since it has to do with hosting, we looked to Google App Engine, Google's hosting offering, which already serves over 100,000 applications that are used every single week. But as we tried to use App Engine to help with enterprise software, we noticed that there were some challenges to getting started. As Google moved over its own IT infrastructure to App Engine, and as we talked to our employees, our customers, and VMware, it became increasingly clear to us that the public cloud in general, and Google's cloud in particular, had some barriers to writing enterprise software. We heard that you needed something that was more reliable. We heard that you needed something that came with support. We heard you needed something with key features that your enterprise can't live without. We heard that you needed a better way to manage all of these applications in the cloud, and a way that would seem like the best possible solution, both to the engineers at your company, as well as the IT administrators. And finally, we thought that you needed a better way to pay for all of this. Having a single engineering team sign up with a credit card each time you want to create an app, it's not a very scalable solution. So we took these problems to heart. And over the past year, we've made investments to try to fix these problems. And thus today, I'm really excited to announce to you a new product, Google App Engine for Business. The Google App Engine for Business represents a new version of App Engine that was built from the ground up around solving the real problems that enterprises face. It's composed of 5 features that we believe any business needs to build its infrastructure on App Engine. Those features are, 1, a new company-centric management console, which makes it easy for you to see, manage, and set security policies across all of the applications in your domain. 2, it comes with professional support, so that when it's crunch time and you need help with your application, you know that there's someone out there that you can reach. It also comes with a formal service level agreement, or SLA, for the first time with App Engine. That means that we're putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to the reliability of your business. And finally, it also comes with 2 additional key features that we've heard almost every enterprise needs: SSL for your company's domain, and SQL databases. That's right. You heard me right. When Google App Engine for Business is completely available, you'll have the choice of using our scalable data store, which is built on Bigtable, or a standard SQL database. We know that these features are critical to enterprise adoption. And finally, Google App Engine for Business also comes with a new way to pay for App Engine, a new pricing model that's based around something that's simple: your applications and your users. But you know, I actually think the greatest thing about Google App Engine for Business is that it's based on the success that we've already had with Google App Engine, a product that's over 500 million daily page views strong and still growing. It comes with all of the features that you already know and love about Google App Engine. Its standard Python and Java programming environments, that it's easy to use and it's easy to scale, including that it's free to get started. With Google App Engine for Business, anyone in your company can create an application, develop it, and test it, all for free. When they're ready to share it with their whole company, they just press publish. Now, I mentioned to you that Google App Engine for Business comes with a new pricing model. We'd heard that our current pricing model for App Engine is fairly complex, especially for the enterprise use case. So we wanted to do something simple. We took a note from Google Apps for your domain. The pricing for Google App Engine for Business is really easy to understand. Your applications cost $8 per user, up to a maximum of $1,000 per application per month. That's it. There are no other fees or charges for you to understand. If you use your application within your domain, your usage is unlimited, and you can create as many applications as you'd like. That means with App Engine for Business, you don't have to worry about the cost of your data center, the cost of your management console, the cost of your licenses and usage, all of those things. It's one simple price. You know, we talked to a lot of CIOs when we were working on this, and then we heard from many of you, you were spending 60% of your enterprise IT budget just keeping the lights on. Well, with Google App Engine for Business, we think we can get that down to 0. And we're putting our money where our mouth is. If your application in App Engine for Business has no usage, you don't pay a dime. Now, that's been a lot of me talking about this new product. I'd like now to actually show it to you. I'd like to show you how the management console in Google App Engine for Business makes it easier for you to scale your company in terms of the number of applications that you have, from the point of view of an engineer, an IT admin, and a CIO. So let me get started. Bruce, I might need your help to log in here. Thanks, Bruce. All right. So let me go ahead and open it up. I'm going to open the management console for App Engine for Business. Now, for the purposes of this demo, we've created an example company, the Surly Butcher Corporation. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as a developer there. Now, if you've used App Engine before, this screen should be familiar. It's our normal list of the applications that you work on as an engineer at the company. But as you go to create an application, you'll notice there are a few things that are different. One, you'll find that it's easier to find an application identifier for the apps that you want to create because these application identifiers are limited to being within your business. So you no longer have to hunt around for one in the global namespace across Google. You'll also notice that we've got a different host name listed here rather than appspot.com. When you create an application on Google App Engine for Business, it's automatically mapped into your company's domain. You don't have to do any DNS setup or do any virtual hosts or anything like that. It just works with your company's domain name and brand. Now, I'm going to step back here for a second, and I'm going to go to an application that I deployed this morning, which is a sample blog for the Surly Butcher Company. So I'm going to open that up for you. But before I do, I'm going to go in the background, and I'm going to go log out of App Engine. So I should be logged out now. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up the blog. There you go. And you can see it asks me to log back in. That's because Google App Engine for Business is secure by default. Security policies for all the applications that are created are set by the domain administrator, and developers can't change them without permission. That means that you can be sure that your internet apps are safe. So let me go ahead and log in to the simple app. So there we go. There's our company's simple blog. And you can see it's hosted right in the company's domain name, and I didn't have to set anything up. So let me go back to the application view within the admin console. Now, as I said before, this view should be familiar to you. This is the standard view you see in App Engine of the apps that you work on. But because this is a company, you'll notice that there's a new link up here, which gives me a link to all of the applications for this company. As I click on that, I can now see every application that has been created within my company. And for each application, I can see the applications that I have access to and the ones that I don't. This helps your developers collaborate across your company. Now, one application that I work on inside this company is the TechStop application. This is one that we use for our IT help desk for the company. When I open up this application, though, you'll see the familiar dashboard for App Engine. But you'll notice that there's a new tab under Permissions. With App Engine for Business, you can control who has access to which application and what level of access they have. Now, for this application, you can see I'm listed as a developer. And that means that I have pretty much full rights. I can view the logs of this application. I can go and deploy a new version of the application. And I can go under the data store viewer for the app and create new data or change data. But if I go back to the list of applications, I can see that there's some apps that I don't have all the same level of privileges. So if I open up our company's code review application, where we audit the code we work on, I can see that for this application, I'm only listed as a viewer. That means I can get to this dashboard, and I can view logs and so forth. But if I go to the data store viewer, I can't change any data in the app, and I can't deploy a new version. So again, this helps you manage within your company and manage the data that you're working on and the safety permissions with your company. Now, if I jump back to the list of applications, you'll see that there's some that I have no access to at all. These applications are ones that I'm just not a developer on, and if I click on one, you'll see I have no access. I can request access, though, and I'll email the developers to let me on if I can. Now, I said I was going to show you one other thing, and that was showing you that how a domain administrator or a CIO looks at all of this. So I'm going to sign out quickly, and I'm going to sign back in as someone who is a domain administrator at this company. So let me do that. Now, as a domain administrator, I don't actually have any applications because I don't write code anymore. But when I go to list of all of the applications for the company, you can see I have full access to all of them. And that means I can go to any app, grant a developer access, remove a developer who's left the company, and handle situations like that. So that's the demo of App Engine for Business. Now, I want to make one thing clear. Google App Engine for Business represents a major new effort from Google. And it's a big new thing that we're doing. Today, I'm announcing App Engine for Business. It's not yet entirely available for everyone to use. But we know that enterprise development schedules take time, and that you need time to plan. Thus, we wanted to tell you about this as soon as we could. So in response to that, today we're publishing the roadmap for Google App Engine for Business. Because some of the features that I told you about today will take longer than others, some will be available sooner than others. Our roadmap, which is published online at code.google.com, gives you an idea about when each one of these features will be available and when you could expect to see it. Now, already a number of companies that we're working with are already testing the App Engine Management Console, and they're using it to help manage their company and all of the applications within it. So that's the end of my talk today. What I've shown you is a new version of App Engine, which is suited to business needs, and a new way to manage all of your applications in the cloud. So thank you for your time. Please keep watching our roadmap to see how we're doing. And if you'd like to learn more about our toughest customer of Google App Engine for Business, please come see these talks where you can see how Google itself is building its IT apps on App Engine. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, everyone. 3 more slides. What did we show you? We made 4 promises at the beginning. We said we were going to show you how to build apps faster with familiar technology, showed you how integrating Spring Tools and Google Web Toolkit let that happen. We said we were going to show you how to reach all your users and all their devices. The new mobile-ready widgets in Google Web Toolkit make that happen. We said we were going to show you how to stop being trapped into an architecture by a choice you make when you write your code. The cloud portability solution we showed you, working with VMware on open standards, made that happen. And we said we were going to show you how to juggle 1,000 applications for your company and keep your sanity. App Engine for Business allows that to happen. If you want to learn more, attend the sessions. You can go online at cloud portability at either google.com or vmware.com. Get a lot more information, pointers to documentation, download the tools, access the roadmap, sign up for early use, all of that. We started this morning by talking about the power of open standards and how open standards leads to innovation. Some of the people who started using the tools that we showed you today, some of the people who started using Spring several years ago, started using Google Web Toolkit 2 years ago, you're in this room. When you started using those tools, You didn't know that you were building applications that were ready to run on Chrome. You didn't know that you were running applications that were ready to run on the Android browser. You didn't know that you were building for the platform of the future because it didn't exist when you started building your apps. But because you chose to invest in open standards, you chose to innovate in the open, you were ready for the future. Stay with the open standards, stay with the web, stay with HTML5, come with us into the future. We're excited about it. We know you're excited. Enjoy the sessions. Enjoy the rest of your 2 days here. Thank you very much.